Cracking, everybody. Buenos dias, saludos. So this is a little story time. But before we do that, I want to thank everybody for your well wishes and your prayers and stuff. I am not in the hospital. Prior to yesterday's uh, post, I had told everybody I was going through a procedure. It took a couple hours. Yes, it was in a medical setting, but it's called an infusion. It's where they get a mixture of drugs and they put them into you intravenously. And it takes a couple hours. Doing so uh, causes fatigue, where you're extremely tired and worn out. It takes a lot out of you. So I was doing that yesterday. So I appreciate all the well wishes and the prayers and stuff. I am fine. Thank you. It's a necessary procedure I have to get because of me being sick. I'm not on chemo. I'm not on. I'm not dialysis. I'm nothing like that. But it is very serious. So that's what I was doing yesterday. But I appreciate all the prayers and the well wishes. It means a lot to me. You guys care. So in the meantime, let's talk about this, right? I'm gonna give you a scenario and I'm gonna tell you what happened. When I was busted, let's just say I had a visit that was interrupted by the staff, by COs, correctional officers. Let's just say that. I had a visit and it was interrupted by correctional officers. During the same process, I was put into that same week. I was actually put into a porter position at the captain's office. The captain's office is, all lieutenants, captains, all of them go through there, right? They have their offices there. It wasn't a job I wanted to keep. It wasn't a job I was gonna keep. I was already asking to get out of it. I didn't want to be there, but I didn't want to lose my A2, my A1A status, which is where you work and you get your halftime and all that good shit, right? Your store and everything, right? So I was submitting to get a new job. So when my visiting got interrupted on the following Monday, because that happened like on a Saturday or a Friday, maybe even Thursday, I don't know, whatever day it was. But on the following Monday, when I went in office, as I was sweeping up, I asked the captain if I could speak to him. Never had a word with him, never, nothing. He goes, sure, by all means, go ahead. So he goes, come in my, what? And he goes, I told him I have my visiting disrupted this weekend. And I wanted to know why. And I guess he has a report on his office, and he's looking at it. He's, oh, this is why. Okay. And I'm one of those people that I'm going to play low intelligence. I'm going to act dumb. I'm going to use my appearance to throw you off on how to interact with me. In other words, you see a dumb cholo, you're going to act a certain way with a dumb cholo. I don't know how else to put it. So I played dumb, like I didn't know any better, like I couldn't read it right, I couldn't understand rules. So what I did is I used his regulations, his rule book against him by asking him certain questions, painting him in the corner, and then pressing him on that. So I asked him certain questions, knowing the answers already, knowing he was going to lie to me, and then I pinned him on a corner on it, right? Well, I landed up in the hole. 5 minutes after I answered the question, I'm on my ass on the way to the hole. I didn't care, but I wanted to prove my point, right? I made him look stupid. What? I tend to do that with people I perceive that might have a higher intelligence. I will approach them for whatever reason that I have to conduct business with these people. Doesn't have to be a SEAL or a cop or nothing like that. Just an individual with a higher intelligence or what perceives to be higher intelligence or what they might perceive that they are higher intelligence. And I might pose a question to them. Might be a simpleton question. Something simple, something distractive to unarm them. Doesn't always work, but for the most part it does. But it doesn't always work. The reason I'm bringing this up was the other day I seen somebody on a social media that is pretty well known and what it was perceived as a higher intelligence. But I had a question for them. That they had some personal knowledge of me about. Now this person doesn't know me personally, but some personal knowledge of something that has to do with me. So I posed a question to this individual. I asked him on the social media, hey, can I ask you a question? I know you don't know me, boop, boop, boop. But I'd like to ask you a question, if possible. He tells me, yes, of course. So I asked the question. But I don't ask the question I want to know yet because I want to see how he's going to approach me. I want to see how he's going to act towards me after I ask the question that I really need to know. So I asked him a couple other little questions. Something stupid, nothing big. I'm not going to get into details, but it was basically to unarm him to see how he was going to approach me, if I was going to get an honest answer, whether it was going to offend him or whatever it may be. I wanted to ask something, so I asked something simple, something stupid. That's something that he might answer, but give me a stupid reason, right? They left me on red. So I start thinking, like, why would he leave me on red? He already said he would answer the question. Well, this person is of higher intelligence. And I think I can only think of a couple of reasons why he would left me on red. One is he figured the question I asked was either a trap or a waste of time. That maybe he's seen it, maybe he understood it, or maybe he just thought I was a complete idiot that he didn't feel that I was worthy of his time, right? Because this is the kind of person I see. And maybe he overthunk. Remember, he was overthinking the answer. I don't know, but I kind of think he was felt like it was a waste of time. It was above him to answer something like that. You know, there's a lot of people that look at people like me and you and don't give us enough respect to hear us or to acknowledge us. And this is what I mean. I had a friend, right? This is also a story. I have a friend. She's an addict. She got all tatted up and ran on the streets and did all that good shit, right? Well, when she was cleaning up, she had went somewhere. She had already cleaned up a couple years and had went somewhere and had changed her life and was doing things that were productive, right? She was enjoying her life because she had really given up everything to change her life. And she ran into somebody that looked at her, took her appearance, the tattoos on her, the way she conducted her, the way she looked, the demeanor she had, and assumed that she wasn't worthy of that other person's respect. In other words, she down talked her, she talked bad to her, she disrespected her, and refused to give her respect, right? So I had a talk with this my homegirl, and I told her, "Hey, why are you getting mad? You got what you wanted." And she goes, "What do you mean? I've changed. I'm not the same person no more. That bitch shouldn't treat me like that." And yes, you're right. The thing is, and this is why I ask questions the way I do, is I look a certain way. Tattoos, the way I dress, the way I got my mustache, just everything about me, my whole persona makes you look at me a certain way and say, that's the type of person this dude is. Because it's just how I look, right? Without a word being said. Well, that is something that didn't happen overnight. This is something that I worked at. Every little tattoo, every movement, every way I acted, every word painted a picture on who I am. And that was the picture that I was a Picasso at, basically. I wanted you to think like that of me. Spent my whole life trying to be that person. And now that I'm that person, I realize it's not necessarily a person I want to be, right? So you try to change your life. You get into something else. You stop drinking. You stop conducting yourself a certain way. You stop dressing a certain way. But you still have that underlying image that you painted, that you doing so long. That's who you really are now, right? And then you get some stranger that looks at you and says, "Hey, you're a piece of shit," or you're a gang member, or you're a drug addict, or you're a person that lives on the street, because that's the image that you painted, that you've always wanted. And now that you got it, people will look at you that way. And then you don't want them to look at you. You want to change. You want to be there. How do those people know that you've changed? That's what I explained to my homegirl. How did that lady know that you're not the same person? That you're not the person that you painted? That you've changed, and that you physically show them that you've changed. And that's the message. We act a certain way. I've acted and wanted to be a gang member where everybody looked at me and said, "Hey, that's a fucking gangster. That's a fucking homie right there." Boop, boop, boop. And then when you get into the real world and somebody looks at you and they look at you and they see that image, they're like, "Damn, he's a gang member. Those are the ones we heard on the news. Those are the ones of this," right? And they have that picture of you and they're scared of you, or they look down on you until you prove different, that you're not that person that they think you are. Yes, image. That's all it is. Image. And my homegirl had to learn that she painted herself a certain way her whole life. And she realized that ain't what she wanted. That she wanted to be better. She wanted to do better. But people are still looking at her with that image. Because it took a long time for her to get that image. And it's going to take a long time for her to get rid of that image. So don't be so quick to get mad at people because they treat you a certain way, when that's the way you wanted them to treat you in the beginning, or you wanted them to look at you in the beginning. Just something I thought I'd share. Have a good one, you guys.